Hello, 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 hello. This is a little bit crooked. We're gonna fix it. Maybe, maybe not. Apparently it doesn't want to be fixed. Okay. Here we are. Hello, hello. It is a fabulous Tuesday here. And I am still trying to fix this. We're gonna get it to work. There we go. Ooh, that's a little bit better. Yes. Oh, no, just kidding. It does not, it just doesn't. Okay, well, it is what it is. Hello there, hello there. Welcome. So I have had some crazy up-leveling that has taken place over the last couple of weeks. The soul is lit and on fire, and the downloads and all of the things that have been coming through have been out of this world. So I'm going to share some with you, and we're going to go kind of in the Wayback Machine, because it's so important to start here in order to go further, to build it, to make it bigger, to expand on it and bring in extra and all the stuff. So if you are struggling to create the life and business that you desire right now, I want you to be very honest with yourself and say, are you clear on what that looks like? Do you have an idea of what it is that you actually want to create? Because that is step number one. So this is part one of a two-part series. We're going to talk next time about how to actually get that vision to become a reality. But right now we're starting with the vision. This is so critical, and people do not spend enough time in this space. They just kind of think it's going to come out willy-nilly. It's just going to happen by default because that's how some of us show up in life, very passively, okay? You cannot create the life that you want passively. It has to be done in an active state. You have to be present and conscious in order to do that. So we're going to see whatever comes through. There may be some channeling that comes through. I'm not sure what this transmission is actually going to look like, but we're just going to go with it because, well, why not? So when it comes to the vision for your life, there is a really, really powerful exercise. It's pretty rudimentary, but it works incredible when you actually do it. That's the key. Most of us, I don't mean most of us because you're watching this, you're really smart, you're going to do this. Many people have this grand idea, but we never spend the time to actually get detailed about it. And that lack of detail creates a lack of results. So when it comes to this, again, I absolutely love this exercise. It is so incredibly simple, but it's so incredibly powerful when you actually sit down and do it, okay? So again, this is two-part series. So part one, we're going to talk about the vision. Part two, we're going to talk about the execution, okay? So take some time today, and I want you to spend about 30 minutes, okay? 30 minutes getting crystal clear on the life that you want to create. Now, this may feel really hard in our current reality, okay? Because maybe you're struggling to pay bills, maybe you're living paycheck to paycheck, maybe you just had a check that bounced in your checking account, right? It can feel hard to go there, but I want you to take the time and the energy to get to this place because it will only serve you, all right? So what I want you to do is imagine that you have $1 million in the bank. $1 million in the bank. You open your bank account tomorrow morning and there is $1 million in that bank account. Just breathe it in for a second. Okay? $1 million in that bank account. You can do whatever you want because that $1 million is going to simply repopulate again the following day. So you have $1 million in your bank account tomorrow morning. right? What is your day going to look like if you wake up and there are $1 million in your bank account? Right? The first couple of days, right? Picture Groundhog Day where this $1 million just populates every day. The first couple of days, you may go a little bit crazy, right? You may splurge and buy all of the things. A couple days into this, you're going to start to create some kind of a routine to your life. And that is what I want you to begin to focus on. Okay, so if you woke up tomorrow and you have $1 million in your bank account, what are you going to do with your day? Where are you going to invest your time? What are you going to invest your money on? How are you going to show up? What will your day look like? What things will you do? What will you eat? Where will you go? Where will you live? What will you do with your kids? Like, really get into the detail of this, okay? Because the detail is where you start to create that thing, right? So if you have this goal to be a millionaire, which many people do, okay? You have a goal to be a millionaire or even, have a six-figure business, right? Multi-six-figure business. If your goal is to be a millionaire, it can feel very, very high atop of that mountain. And sometimes when we're sitting at the bottom of the mountain, living paycheck to paycheck, and we're looking up at that $1 million mountain, it can feel too big. It can feel like we're never actually going to make it there. And that can be discouraging. And so we quit on our dreams very quickly before we even started, right? And so what I want you to do is, I want you to take this time to sit down and think about that $1 million version of you, right? Because if you spend any time listening to the law of attractions, you know that you attract what you are, not what you want. So if you want to be a millionaire, you actually have to become the millionaire first. What does that look like? I don't know. It's different for everybody, right? But I love to call this the $1 million version of you exercise, right? If you have $1 million, what does your day look like? What do you do, right? I want you to get very specific on a particular day, right? Let's say that you woke up this morning, $1 million in your bank account. What did you do today? What did that day look like? You probably woke up pretty excited because you were like, yes, $1 million in the bank. Let's make the most of this day, right? You were probably pretty excited. You probably took your time this morning. You probably weren't rushed. You were probably really present, making your kids breakfast, brushing their hair, taking them to school. You probably went about your day in a very relaxed kind of way. It probably felt incredibly powerful if you woke up with $1 million in your bank account. Those qualities that you feel right now, imagining that there was $1 million in the bank account, those are the qualities that need to become true in your life for you to attract that $1 million. So let me give you a prime example, okay? This is really my favorite part. So I have over here next to my desk a list of things that make the $1 million version of me. Now, when you do this exercise, I want you to be involved. I want you to feel it. I want you to get excited about it. This is not a task that is meant to be done with your head. This is a task that is meant to be done with your heart and your full body. This should be a full body experience. I want you to get really excited about this because you have $1 million in your bank account. It just came to you. That's freaking awesome. Right? Imagine the different ways that the money could come to you. You're like, oh, it feels so good, right? Feels so good, feels so good, okay? So on this list, literally got a piece of paper, and I wrote down the $1 million version of me on the top of this paper. And then I started to write down all of the qualities that the $1 million version of me would possess, right? So the very top of this list, it says wakes up excited every day. before my feet hit the floor in the morning, I think of something that I'm excited about that day. It doesn't matter. It can be as simple as I got to sleep an extra 5 minutes, right? There is something that sets the tone for my day. I am excited for that day. That's the very first thing on my list, right? Then after that, it's like, she is present with her kids, doesn't yell at her kids in the morning, right? Like, is patient with them making breakfast, makes breakfast for her kids, eats healthy foods, enjoys the car ride to school, helps do the hair, helps with the homework, right? Like, the $1 million version of me is very present with her children in the morning. Very present with her children in the morning. And so that sets the tone for my day. The $1 million version of me also works out every morning. Absolutely. I am a morning person, and that will probably never change. I love to wake up before anybody else. Usually my husband wakes up about 5-10 minutes before me. I hear his alarm and then I get up, right? But I love to be up before my kids are up because I love the quiet of the house. I love to get my workout done. I love to go for a run when you can hear the birds and the sun just coming up, right? Like, I love working out in the morning because it allows me to start my day with a great note. I love being able to connect to nature in the morning. I don't always work out outside, but typically I do, right? This is the $1 million version of me. And because I know that that's what she looks like, those are the qualities that I start to integrate into my own life. Because in order to attract the $1 million, I have to be a millionaire already. And so that's where the $1 million version of you exercise comes in. So I want you to spend some time getting crystal clear about what that day looks like. What time do you wake up? What kind of a workout do you do? Do you have a personal trainer? Do you go to a gym? Do you have a home gym? Do you swim laps? Do you live at the beach? Do you go for a run? Do you do yoga on the beach? Like, what feels most luxurious to you because you've just woken up with $1 million in the bank? Do you go out for breakfast with your girlfriends? Do you take your kids to school? Are your kids private school? Are they public school? Are they homeschooled? Do you live on a farm? What are all of these qualities and characteristics of this $1 million version of you? Now, before your ego comes in and says, yeah, but Steph, I don't have the money for that. I know. There's going to be a bunch of things on the list that you don't have the money for yet. Okay? I get it. Some of those things are going to be like, I live in a beach house. I live on a yacht. I flew to Paris this morning, right? Like, there's going to be some things on that $1 million version of you list that you can't afford yet. Okay? I don't want you to focus on those things first, right? You can absolutely write them down. Of course. What I want you to focus on are the personality traits and the characteristics of this $1 million version of you first. If the money in your bank account does not represent $1 million yet, it's gonna feel hard to get on board with having a beach house. So we've got to start with something that feels available to us right now. Okay? So this is why the very top of my list says I wake up excited every day. I could have $0 in the bank account. $0. I could have negative dollars in the bank account. And there is still something that I can look forward to each day. That doesn't cost me anything. And sometimes looking forward to something is as simple as this Facebook Live, or being able to sit by my fireplace and enjoying a glass of wine, or, going for a walk outside on a beautiful day, or spending the afternoon with my kids at the playground, or being able to go to the beach, right? There are a lot of things that bring me joy that cost me $0. Okay? But the reason that this is the $1 million version of you exercise is because there's something about having $1 million in our bank account that takes out our ego, right? Our ego is no longer like, I can't afford that, right? Because there's $1 million in the bank. And we don't have to worry about the affording part. So I want you to think of those characteristics and start to bring those characteristics to life. Live as that $1 million version of you. We're going to talk about this in greater detail in part 2, right? But this is the vision. This is the context. These are the tones that you set for your life. This is the most important part. Especially as women, as the feminine energy, we have to set that tone. So $1 million version of you, what is the tone that you're setting? For me, I am 100% present with my kids. Hands down, that is absolutely the thing. Present with my kids. I am not working while I'm with my kids, right? Now, sometimes there is some balance things, that harmony things that happen, right? But I know the $1 million version of me is not ever going to pick up my kid after school and be like, no. Sorry, just kidding. Mom's going to go work for 6 hours. That's not going to happen. And that's the tone that I'm setting. That's the context. These are the ways that I am envisioning my life. Being very present with my kids. That is so important to me, right? Filling up my own cup and then being present with my kids. Like, I can go through this list of priorities with you, but that's not the purpose of today, right? What I want you to really do is spend some time thinking about what your $1 million version of you would look like. Is she going to exercise? What kind of exercise? Does she do triathlons? What kind of communications? Do you have date nights with your family regularly? With your spouse? Do you go out to eat? Do you have a personal chef? Like, really allow all of this to come through, okay? Really enjoy the exercise because it's not intended to freak you out, terrify you, not at all, right? It's intended to be fun. And when you do it with a lightheartedness and dreaming, right, with your imagination, that's where the power really starts. So, to recap, because I know I rambled a little bit here and there, what I want you to do is spend some time thinking about this $1 million version of you. What does the ideal day look like? What do you have for lunch? What do you have for dinner? What time do you go to bed? Where are you having these meals? Like, what does it feel like? Really get into what it feels like and then write it all down. Okay. What I like to do is I'll start with like what my day will look like, the kind of activities that I'll do, and then I will reverse engineer that into the list of qualities, right? So wakes up excited in the morning, make sure to exercise, does like central breathing, right? Connects with her audience, enjoys social media, like whatever it is, right? And I really start to connect into what those qualities are, right? Present with her kids, patient, compassionate, right? Like all these different qualities. That's what I want you to start to write down, the $1 million version of you qualities. And then for part 2, we're going to come back here and we're going to dive into this second part. But you've got to know what the vision for your life looks like. Every time I think of this, I think of the story, The Notebook. And I'm totally lost the main characters' names, right? But the boyfriend is standing there outside on the front lawn of his gorgeous house, right, that he redid, and the girl is like getting into her car, right? And he's like, what do you want? Just tell me what you want. And she has no idea, right? You've got to know what you want in order to create it and attract it. So start there. What is it that you want this life to look like? Because you are the architect of your life. And if you don't like what you're building, it's time to be more intentional about it. All right? So start there. Let me know how this exercise goes. I'm excited for you to share it with me. Feel free to reach out to me. Happy to help if you need help getting the juices flowing on this. But I hope you have a great rest of your day. And as always, be big, be bold, and be opulent. Bye, love.